you are in my garage. You lucky people getting a tour of the house. There's it's a bit early. Kids are still running around the place, so I thought I'd nip in the garage and do a quick review, as I did after the first quarter. I'll do a quick Q2 review, as I'm calling it. Sorry for the reflection in my glasses, but first I really need to thank everybody that has donated so far. That's it, it's done. I've got my full 366. I've got everything I need to actually complete the challenge. So I have a list because there are that many people on there. Special mentions first, definitely, to Andrew AP Butler, who's donated 57 samples towards the challenge, which is just a ridiculous amount. The mysterious Mr. X, who was about 35 samples. Chris and Lindsay Cook, who have been with me since day one and have been absolutely fantastically supportive in terms of providing some samples from their private stock, and I have a bad feeling buying some as well, and also just morally supportive, really sort of G'ing me along in their lovely sarcastic way that they have. Joe Lawson, fantastic, thank you so much. I think you and Jason B Standing, you and Jason B Standing were the first two, apart from Chris, that sent samples and that really sort of G'd me up and got me going, so thank you so much. My good friend Ollie Chilton, who is at the Whiskey Shop because of me, not the Whiskey Shop, the Whiskey Exchange, because of me at the Whiskey Shop. If I hadn't employed him, he would not be working there, living a life of luxury, so you owe me a large one. I owe you quite a few already, but you owe me a large one. And Tobias von Neubrunner, who sent me parcels from Germany of crazy stuff, absolutely unbelievable stuff that I didn't even know existed, let alone would have ever had a chance to come across. So Tobias, thank you so much. You have been an absolute legend. And then everybody else, Andy Flatt, otherwise known as the Amateur Drama, Barry Bradford, Charlie Cavai, Craig Moody, David Mason, Ian Forteeth, Megan at Interbev, James Booth, James Hope, James Goggins at Maverick Drinks, Chris Neville and Andrew Watson of the British Bourbon Society, Eric and Laura Burgess, how do you pronounce your surname, of Weems Malts, Jason Stover, who got me over that 366, Jim Urquhart, who lives in the village, Joe Ellis, Whiskey Wednesday, if you're not watching his videos you bloody well should be, my good friend John Pitts was my assistant manager, took over as manager when I left, Maltman Mike Little, if you're not watching his videos you bloody well should be, Nick and Kathy at the Lincoln Whiskey Shop, unlikely they're watching this because I don't think they do social media, but they gave me a couple of samples. Matthew Venables, some really interesting stuff. Michael Bradley, Rittenhouse 25-year-old, how could you send that? That was just ridiculous, but I thank you for it. Mike Fisher, Nigel Crew, North Bank Al, an Arsenal fan, fellow Gooner, no idea what your actual name is, mate, I just know you as North Bank Al. Pete James in America, Quint, who does the well-aged Scotch videos, you should be watching his. He's not got many viewers and you should be watching because he's doing something really interesting. Soren Krebs, otherwise known as OCD Whiskey on Twitter. The Lakes Distillery, I can't remember who the guy's name was. Somebody Michaels, who sent me the little package with the sampling. Stu and Kirsty at the Whiskey Corner, lovely couple they are, they're so nice. Joe and Eddie and Amanda and all the lovely peeps at the Whiskey Lounge. I managed to snaffle a total of 19 samples I got off you guys. I'm not sure whether you knew that or not, but that was how many I got, thanks for that. Anelka at Total Wine and More in Orlando, highly unlikely she's watching this, but she really sorted me out when I was over in America, got me through the holiday with some fantastic samples and miniatures. Will Knott, Kai Lingerman, my next door neighbour who I can see the house through the window of the garage at the moment, Helen, Hanu Tavlainen, crap I can't remember how to pronounce your surname, let alone spell it, Alan Stott, whose sample turned up today and I've just snuck into the list, and Kevin Tapp. All you wonderful, wonderful people are wonderful and generous and kind and have got me over the 366 mark. So any samples that are surplus, basically I've got some duplicates. People like Ollie Chilton weren't listening to what the actual rules of the challenge were, but if there is any samples, now the list is on the list of whiskies page, you'll see it on the bottom. That's now the schedule, that's what my 366 is going to be, and that's how I plan to go through the second half. If you've donated something and it's not on that list, I will send it back to you. If you want it back, I will do. If not, I will sample it when I finished it and probably carry on doing some reviews, although it won't be part of the challenge, or I may even just auction off the rest of them. I'm still hoping to have a final bash the Saturday before Burns Night next year, 2017. Book a date in your diary somewhere around York, near the train station, somewhere like that, so people can get to York and it's walking distance from the train station. possibly Hotel du Vas, somewhere like that, hoping to get people together and do the final 3 samples, because it'll be, if I upload one on Saturday, while we do the event on Saturday night, it'll be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday will be the last one. So I can do 3 that night, and hopefully get everybody together that's been involved, that's been supportive, that's sent samples. It'll be fantastic to see you all in person, and hopefully have a really good time. And maybe on that night, all the samples that I've got left that I haven't used, I could auction them, or people could just chip in towards each individual one. We'll figure something out, and it all goes to charity. Something like that. It'll be great. It'll be really good. So, quarter 2, Dram number 94 to 183. It's quite a lot of them. And quite a lot of them were American. 58 American out of all of that lot in the end, as well as some Lowland. So, I'll do the same categories that I did in the Q1 review, and I'll try and keep it consistent all the way through. So, the best value. Difficult one, because there was quite a lot of expensive stuff, to be perfectly honest. So, the shortlist is relatively small. Dram number 100, Springbank. Not the cheapest, but just such a fantastic whiskey. I think you're still looking at about 35, 40 quid for that, and it's just superb for the bog standard 10-year-old is amazing stuff. Dram number 125, Cutty Sark, still one of my favourite blends. I think it's really, really good, and it's great value for money. 20 quid, less than that even, and I think it's brilliant stuff. 156 was Elmer T. Lee, which for about $35, if you're in America, easily the best value bourbon you can find. If in the UK it's about 45, 50 quid, which still isn't bad considering the markup, but if you're in America, Elmer T. Lee, fantastic value for money. Likewise, Buffalo Trace, which was review 163. I wasn't expecting too much out of this. It's a bit cheaper than Elmer T. Lee. It's about $20, $25, that sort of thing, and it was a lot better than I thought. Out of those, I'm actually probably going to be slightly US centric and pick Elmer T. Lee as my best value whiskey, based on how much it is in America, simply because I go over to America fairly regularly on holiday, and the thought that I can pick that up for about $30, $35 I think is an absolute bloody bargain. So the next one, the one to explore, which was basically ones where I liked the whiskey and I'd be keen to try the other releases that they do. So not necessarily the best, but ones where it's like, you know what, I want to try some of the others. So 100 again, Springbank, just because they've got quite a range of them, different ages. There's the Long Row, there's the Hazelburn, there's Woodbits. But now I've had Long Row and I've got Hazelburn very, very soon to finish off the Campbelltown. But yeah, I'd love to try most of the other Springbanks because it's consistently fantastic whiskey. 123 was Smooth Ambler, the old Scout I had. Now they're a range where they're not making it, they're buying it and sourcing it, but bloody hell, they're sourcing some good stuff based on that old Scout, and I'd love to see the other ones that they're doing. 149 Rittenhouse Rye, based purely on the fact that the 25 was so amazing, and I hear that their bog standard one is actually very, very good indeed. Based on how good that top end 25-year-old is, I really would be so intrigued to know what the others are like. And then 176 was Michter's. Now they've got quite a broad range, and a bit like Smooth Ambler at the moment, they are sourcing their whiskies, but they're doing a very, very good job. I have had the American whiskey, and I've now had the small batch bourbon, which was in the challenge. Both of them are fantastic, and I'd love to try the other ones that they do. So out of those four, probably Rittenhouse, just because I'm so intrigued to know what their younger, earlier versions are like. Okay, favourite Scotch. Now, not that many of them, but I did have quite a few to start off this second quarter. So, 95, Wolfburn. Surprised the hell out of me. You might find that appear later on in another section. But so good for such a young whiskey. Number 100, Springbank. Again, you'll notice a theme on this. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. 103, Clynelish was just brilliant. The complexity, the depth, the smokiness, the richness to it. Fantastic stuff. Really, really good. And 116, Ballechin, was a bit of a toss-up between did I like the Edredale or did I like the Ballechin? And because the Ballechin was doing something different, but it still had Edredale's character, that's why I'm putting it into this short list. Of them, though, considering it's been three sections in a row, it's got to be the Springbank. It was such a good whiskey for the price. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, this was a harder section. Favourite American, because there was such a large chunk of American in here. So 123, Smooth Ambler again, really, really good stuff. 137, Lost Spirits was out there, just wacky stuff. and loved it because of it, because it was really well made. 149, the Rittenhouse rye, 25-year-old, you know how much I love that one if you watched it. 156, Elmer T. Lee, which just for its consistency, for its just solidity and just so well made and such good value for money, got to put that on the list. 168, Russell's Reserve Rye, golden syrup ahoy. It was just brilliant stuff, totally unlike any other American that I'd had to that point, until I had number 169, which was the Notch single malt from Nantucket. And amazing stuff, just kept changing and changing all the time. Really, really hard to pick which one I prefer out of all of them. Almost was going to turn around and say, do you know what, I'm not going to pick one. But if you put a gun to my head, if you have to, in fact that's probably not a particularly good term to be using with everything that's going on in the world, if you absolutely force me to, just because it totally blew my socks off, the Rittenhouse was up there, top 5 all-time whiskies ever. Just amazing stuff. If I could get that again, a sample of that again, or a bottle of that, or any of that again, it's up there with the Ardbeg 77 in that it would just be fantastic to try it again. So, favourite other whiskey. Now, this is a little bit easier for me to pick because there's only 2 of them. I only did 2 non-Scotch and non-American in the whole quarter. So it's either DSP Black from India or the Flurky from Iceland. And it's a bit of a no-brainer. The Flurky was actually really good. I really enjoyed the Flurky. DSP Black was, whatever. But very unusual, very distinctive. I can imagine some people aren't going to like it, but I really appreciated the fact that it was just so unusual. So not much of a competition in this round, but the Flurky wins it. Would have probably beaten most things anyway. So the most disappointing, 94 Pure Scot. Simply because it was from Bladnoch. I liked the packaging. I had my hopes up. It's like, well, it looks good. Might taste alright. Just wrong, just not made well. Seems to be a waste of Bladnoch, and kind of makes me a little bit unsure about what the future of Bladnoch holds. 138 Ballantines, just dull as ditchwater, so boring, just so plain and boring for such a big name and such a big brand. You'd expect some kind of quality. I've had Glenfiddich and Glenlivet and all of these other massively big names where actually there is a reason that they're that big, because they are actually pretty decent. Ballantines, nothing. Just no reason for that to be as popular as it is. 153 Tin Cup. Now this was more disappointing because of the research I've done behind it, and then finding out the slight misnomer in terms of what was being put on the label and where it was coming from, and not that they were lying, but just it kind of, I had an impression that this was made a particular way, and that was one of the things that I didn't like about whiskey marketing, particularly in America, in terms of this hidden secretive nature of, well, we source it from here and we get it from there, and it's knocking stuff over in my garage. It's alright, it's only the kids' bikes, they don't need it. So yeah, Tin Cup disappointment, less for the whiskey, which was okay, more for the story behind it. 166 Rock Hill Farms, mainly because, which is up there somewhere, mainly because it was Buffalo Trace. It was a really nice bottle. It was getting some fantastic reviews, to be perfectly honest, and yet for the money, for this extra $20, $30 over something like Elmer T. Lee, it just wasn't worth it. It was okay, but it wasn't what the price point made me think it should be. 167 High West, Yippee-ki-yay. Mainly for the name, I got disappointed because I had my hopes up. It's Die Hard, yippee-ki-yay, it's Die Hard. It's got to be amazing, but the vermouth cask just killed it for me. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with the vermouth. A lot of people do like it out there, a lot of people don't like it. I've seen it being mentioned on Facebook groups, and there's a lot of people that are raving about it, and for me, just no, didn't get it. And then 175, the Wild Turkey Rare Breed, mainly because I had my hopes up for this. I like Wild Turkey, the bog standard one. Wild Turkey is one of those, it's everywhere. You list American whiskies, and it's Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam, and then Wild Turkey's the next one on the list. And I was just really disappointed with the Rare Breed. I had my hopes up, and it was just not there, too hot, just not right, not for me. So out of that, the Tin Cup claim came close, to be perfectly honest, but that was more disappointing, not for the whiskey itself. That was more disappointing my hopes of it and my impression of it. In terms of flavour, I think it's got to be the High West, simply because I really had my hopes up. I'd love to try the double rye, because I think there was a decent whiskey underneath this vermouth cask nonsense that just wasn't working for me. So the nice one now, most surprising, not the best. I don't want to pick the best out of all of them, but the one that surprised me the most. So 95 Wolfburn, which surprised the hell out of me for such a young whiskey. It's barely 3 years old, and yet so much depth of flavour and rich and smooth and creamy. Fantastic stuff. I can't wait to see what that's like at a 5 and an 8 and a 10. Great stuff. Lost Spirits Leviathan, a number 137. Just I didn't know what to expect, and it's just absolutely nuts, and fantastic because of it. 145 Rocktown Bourbon from Arkansas. Really distinctive flavour, very petrol-y on it. I remember picking up a lot of kind of gasoline petrol type fumes, but in a good way. Gave it some character, really enjoyable. That just thought it was going to be like an odd box standard ordinary bourbon. No, not the case at all. 163 Buffalo Trace, again because I was expecting it to be dull. I was expecting it to be thin, cheap bourbon. I'd had H&H, I'd had early times and all this lot, and Buffalo Trace I kind of threw in that pile. Not the case at all. Very smooth, very easy drinking, a bit of a glugger, even though I don't really like that term, but way better than I thought it was going to be. And then 169, The Notch. Never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. Single malt American, well, this could be okay, it would be interesting to see what they do with it. Blew my socks off. So many different flavours in there. It went on forever. Absolutely fantastic. I still don't know how much it is a bottle. Nobody's come back to me to say, oh, it is $880 a bottle, or actually, no, it's $60 a bottle and you can find it here. It sounds like you can barely get hold of it anyway. So, most surprising, tough one that, because there was a lot of good ones in there that really did blow my socks off. I'm going to go with the Lost Spirits, simply because it was so out there and so bonkers and yet so well made. I can understand people aren't going to like it because it is so out there, but I loved it. But this is a close one. I think Wolfburn and The Notch are very, very close seconds on that one. So that's Q2 over. That's the first half done. I need to get this uploaded because tonight I need to do some more reviews. I've got 3 Americans left, and then we can go back to a bit of Scotch, and then you'll be able to see, if you go to the list of whiskies page, you'll be able to see what I've got for the next 183. So please, I am imploring you, because I now have the samples. I don't need any more samples. I don't need any whiskey sent through the post. I'm amazed that none of them have leaked beyond a little bit off out the top. I haven't lost anything. None have broken, which is a miracle. Kudos to Royal Mail and Couriers. So please, now is the time where basically I know I can do this challenge. I know I can finish it. I have everything I need to do it. So now it's about the money. Now it's about the donations to the Children's Heart Surgery Fund, to the Just Giving page. It's about spreading the word. It's if you know anybody in the media, if you know anybody that works for a newspaper or a TV company or a social media guru or anybody like that has any ideas about how I can spread the word out and let people know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I'm not doing this for a laugh. I'm not doing this to get drunk. The rules were there for a reason. It's not for me to take the piss. It's not for me to be necking loads of free whiskey. It's to provide essentially a service for people watching to go, I didn't know that about that distillery. I didn't know who that person was. I didn't know where that distillery was from. That's why I'm doing this research. And it's not just me sat in front of a video for 2 minutes. You know this isn't like 2 minutes long. I'm not sat in front of a video going, yeah, it tastes all right, and that's it, and on to the next one. I'm doing research. I'm trying to find it because it interests the hell out of me, and I'm hoping that interest passes on to you, and you learn a bit and you find out a bit, like I am, about who Elmer T. Lee was and who Old Grandad was, and the fact that Tin Cup, it says Colorado whiskey, it's not even made in Colorado. So all of this stuff, it fascinates me. I'm hoping it interests you. I'm hoping it interests people that sort of are interested in whiskey but don't really know anything about it and can look through the videos and pick and choose. You don't have to watch all of them. It'd be fantastic if you did, and then I'd have, loads of viewers and I'd be like a proper YouTube vlogger up there with this PewDiePie or whatever the guy's name is. But that's never going to happen because that's video games and this is whiskey. It's even more niche than that. But I need people to donate. I could have 10 viewers, but £5,000 is the aim. And even if people don't watch the videos but do donate to the Just Giving page, so that at the end of this challenge I can go to the Children's Heart Surgery Fund and I can go to Vaughan's mum, Rebecca, and Dad, Simeon, and say to both of them, do you know what? I've managed to raise this money. I did this daft challenge and it was hard work and it took a long time, but there's £5,000 that are going towards Children's Heart Surgery Fund. It might save your son's life. I'm hoping they don't have to, because he'll be fine, but it will save some other kid's life. That £5,000 might save a life, and that would be amazing, because that would mean that I've finally done something outside of bringing up 2 wonderful kids and with another one on the way, something worthwhile and something that I could be proud of later on in my life. So please spread the word, tell everybody you know. I have very little self-confidence in myself, and I really don't like promoting myself, but this means a lot to me, and this is why I managed to get to the stage I have by actually getting out there and talking to people and putting posts out about looking for samples and all this lot. So this is the next stage. The sample side is done. I can do the challenge. Now it's about money for the Children's Heart Surgery Fund. So please tell everybody you know, if you've got any ideas about how I can promote this or anything that I can do. I am looking potentially at a book idea that my wife thinks might work, and then we could sell that and profits go towards Children's Heart Surgery Fund. There's other bits and pieces, but it's all up in the air and just ideas at the moment. But if you've got any ideas, or if you know people that might be able to get the word out there about this, about what I'm trying to do and who I'm trying to do it for, that would be fantastic. That's 20 minutes. That's far more than you needed to listen to. So thank you so much. And here's to the next half. And I shall see you at Dram number 184. Cheers.